That was 4 years ago. I was working as a caregiver and I didn't even know what was going to happen. I thought I was going to be changing bedpans. That was just going to be my life. And maybe I did something in politics. Maybe I volunteered. But now I'm the campaign manager of one of the most popular members of the squad in Congress. I thought this would have been decades from now. The change is real.
Hello, I'm Amira Hassan.
And I'm Ilona Duverge.
And you're listening to Bloc Party, a show about the progressive legislators taking over the Democratic Party from the inside and the movements upending the party establishment from the outside. And today we have a very special guest. You know, I will never tire of getting to introduce the powerful, brilliant, and visionary women behind the work in this movement. Today on the pod, we have Ilona Duverge on the mic. She is the co-founder and director of Movement School. And in 2021, she was named one of City and State's 100 most powerful people in the Bronx. And of course, was one of the pivotal people behind the Green New Deal for public housing legislation. And most importantly, she is a fellow member of the Beehive. Bzz. What's up, Ilona? How you doing?
Oh my goodness. I am so excited to be here and like kicking it with you, Amira. I'm living for this mic right now. Yes.
Are you feeling powerful? The mic does make you feel powerful.
Yeah, I feel like my Leo is like very much coming out right now.
I love that. I was gonna ask you, did you figure out your concert outfit, your Beyonce, your Renaissance tour? Because I know you got tickets.
I got the tickets. I literally, like the whole day, I kept looking over at my friend. I was like, we're going to see Beyonce. Like we can't believe it. I'm going full space cowgirl, rhinestones,
unique,
denim, the whole 9 yards. I might not do the hat that's on the cover because I feel like everybody's going to be wearing that damn hat. So I'm going to do a little bit of a different rendition of it, but full on space cowgirl vibes for Renaissance.
Alien superstar. Here
unique.
She comes. One of one.
I'm the only one.
Ticketmaster made us go through war because honestly, Ticketmaster, count your days. You ugly, ugly monopoly. We're coming for you.
Period.
We're coming for you.
That's the next episode.
Honestly, Emma, Sophie, that's the episode. How Ticketmaster is ruining all concerts and all things.
Yes.
As I'm talking about taking down somebody, which is my favorite thing, destruction. I have the pleasure of talking to you today because we're all about building up infrastructure, about building up people and supporting the incredible electeds that we get in. But the work doesn't just start and end with getting people elected. I've been saying this. I said this on the first episode. It's all about building long-term visionary infrastructure. And that got me thinking we should talk to one of our own at Movement School, which if you guys don't know, Movement School is actually part of the sister org of Justice Democrats. Movement School is all about building up the next generation of leaders in the campaign space, right? Because we don't have enough progressive campaign managers. We don't have enough progressive comms directors. We don't have people from all walks of life taking on these leadership roles. And that is the gap that Movement School is currently filling. And then we also get to talk about the consultant class and how they shape campaigns for the worse. And in the second half of this podcast, we get to talk to one of Movement School's star grads, Adrastos Da Silva, who is currently Representative Cori Bush's campaign manager, and hear a lot more about how Movement School shaped his career trajectory and who he is today. So Ilona, believe it or not, I know a little bit about you, and I know that you were in college, and it's 2016, y'all, and a lot of the world got shook up in 2016 with Trump winning, and I know you experienced this moment of consciousness, and you were like, I'm mad as hell, and
I was mad as hell,
and you were like, I need to get involved. Like, I could be a lawyer, sure, that'd be nice and great, but that is not the way to actually change the world around me as far as policy goes. So you decide to join a campaign, and you're on the first campaign, and you realize, oh, these people don't know what they're doing. You go from that campaign to then working at Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's first 2018 congressional campaign. So after that first campaign, how do you go from there to creating and co-founding Movement School? What is that journey there?
I've never been one to sit on my hands. I had this moment where I was like, well, how do we change the system? Well, we got to change the laws. Well, how do we change the laws? We change the people who write them. How do we change the people who write them? We run their campaigns. But then when I got involved in campaigns, I saw that there was an even deeper layer to this, and that is the ruling consulting class that actually makes sure that these people are in office, right? When I got involved on that campaign, it was consultant-led, and I was given the chance to be the field director for that campaign because they could not find anybody who spoke Spanish. That was red flag number one, clearly. And then when they broke down the campaign strategy to me, I had a lot of questions. You know, I wondered why our target universe was skewed towards older folks when our candidate was going to be the youngest elected in that district. Why is our universe concentrated in more affluent areas of the district when our candidate is a first-generation Dominican immigrant? I think we should do an entire Latino outreach program. And I had these ideas. And you know what they did?
What they do?
They laughed at me. They literally laughed at me. And they said, those people don't vote, so it's not worth the time. And that, for me, was the point of no return, because at that moment, I took it as them telling me that I don't matter. Because here they were telling a 19-year-old undocumented immigrant that my vote didn't matter. And so we lost that campaign. But the next campaign that I worked on was Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's 2018 race, where I worked on the field program. And true grassroots over there. We did not have money for these fancy smancy consultants. So it was really like a ragtag team of folks from the community and young people who had this vision of how we wanted to recreate a campaign. And we knew that win or lose, we wanted to build something that worked beyond the race, right? That actually empowered community and instilled a little bit more of trust into the electoral process. And clearly we know how that ended. She won. And when she won, we had this moment where we're like, well, we have to continue to elect more progressive candidates into office, but there's a big issue. There's barely any staff, let alone staff that is actually representative of their communities, that are actually rooted in our ideological beliefs. It doesn't exist, right? Because there are so many obstacles to working class people of color to get these positions. And not everybody has money to go to Harvard, Yale, campaign school, or do some of these other trainings that are out there for hundreds of dollars. And so we set up a series of trainings on how we went about the campaign. And we started to train folks, our volunteers, folks in the community. And it snowballed into what movement school is now. Because for me, it was very critical. Having had this experience, having learned everything by trial and error and fighting with these consultants and being put down consistently because I was a young person of color and I didn't know better, quote unquote, it was incredibly important for me to create a space where we can democratize these learnings and institutionalize this knowledge and share it with people who want to do this work. I'm looking for the McDonald's manager who wants to become a campaign manager. I'm looking for the mailman who wants to become a field director because he knows every corner of their community like the back of their hand. Movement School is truly reimagining who is in campaign leadership because, again, it works beyond the race. Electoral campaigns are a tool and not the end-all be-all. And we're working towards a larger movement.
That's amazing. And honestly, I think that just speaks to so much of what we are all about here, because you took one moment, a catalyst of this incredible campaign, right? AOC's massive upset, and didn't stop there. And you continued and you actually looked at the systemic issues and said, we actually have a partial solution here. Let's dig into that. You've mentioned them before, and I really want us to dig deeper into the consulting class. I want to take a little step back and really dive into who consultants are, and honestly also how campaigns are usually set up, because most people don't know very much about campaigns. They don't know very much about the people who you typically run it. Who are consultants? What do they do for candidates typically? How much money do they make?
Girl, don't even get me started about these consultants, these damn consultants.
Oh no, I want to get you started.
Consultants are dusty, crusty people who come into communities they know nothing about and then tell you how to do shit. And that's consultants. But on a real note, consultants are folks that candidates pay too much fucking money for to do basically nothing, but they think that they are the answer to winning their campaigns.
Yeah, I want to play you this clip that basically is an interview of a journalist who wrote an article. And I just want people to hear the title of this article because I feel like it says it all.
Writer Molly Ball explores this question in her article, There's Nothing Better Than a Scared Rich Candidate.
What a great quote. Yes, that is a quotation from a book by a political scientist about the political consulting industry.
There is nothing better than a scared rich candidate. That is spot on.
I saw this figure and I almost fell to the floor because it's kind of hard to conceptualize. But Public Citizen did a report in 2021 and they found that in just 2 cycles, actually, consultants received 1.4 billion billion from both the coordinated campaigns and independent expenditures. So, when people we talk a lot about Citizens United. Most people know that that is the Supreme Court case that said money in politics can be unlimited as long as it's not coordinated. So in super PACs, and it is a way to express your freedom of speech. That had this massive impact on how much money gets into campaigns. And it also became a cash grab for a lot of people. A lot of people make a lot of money from campaigns. And one of the plus sides of being insurgent campaigns is that we're broke. So we're not rich, dumb candidates, but who are afraid. But there is this larger consultancy conversation. And I think that at Movement School, this is one of the things that you guys actually try to address by staffing campaigns up with progressive, diverse staffers.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, these consultants make so much fucking money at the expense of campaign staff and community. Because oftentimes what happens is that you're paying $100,000 plus to your consultants, and then you're saying, oh, I could only hire some canvassers for $15 an hour. Sometimes not even that. Sometimes not even that.
I was about to say,
sometimes you're doing work for free most of the time.
Yeah.
And you're working in conditions that are exploitative, and you're getting bossed around by these people who oftentimes don't even visit the district themselves. They're off in wherever the fuck they live in their little office or whatever, giving you commands when you're the one on the ground, actually seeing the day-to-day and how people move and what the culture and the customs are of that community. And so that was part of the incredibly frustrating part when I first got into campaigns and when I discovered, holy shit, these are the people that actually have the power, and these are actually the people that we have to take over. Let's eat the consultant class.
And there's this copy and paste formula, right?
Yeah. What consultants usually do, right, is that they have this cookie cutter Democratic campaign strategy that they apply to every single campaign that they work on. And that's it. There's no more, let me look to see what languages are spoken in this district, what the norms are, what the institutions are, where do people congregate. There is no deep thought at all. It's what are my triple prime voters? That's who I'm going to go after, and that's it. And I'm just going to throw money into a bunch of ads and TV, and that's it. And have no regard for any of the expertise that actually involving community in this process would actually give you. And also, consultants prey on the fact that people are cynical. They prey on that. And I need people to really understand that they are in these rooms and they're these people don't vote, so it's not even worth it. And they pray and they count on the fact that you are not going to come out to vote.
So how does Movement School really upend this consultancy class? How does it solve for this issue of the consultancy class?
Yeah, I mean, it's creating a pipeline for everyday working class people to actually assume leadership positions on campaigns, which are going to help craft the way that this candidate is going to present themselves to the community and how they're going to then govern also once they're in office and have a community that they're actually accountable to, right? And that they can lean on while they're in Congress fighting for their communities. And so I always say, like, before there's congressional staff, there's campaign staff. They are really the ones shaping who this candidate is going to be from the jump. And so it is so critical to make sure that we are building campaigns that are uplifting and empowering people who actually share the values of what this campaign is the vehicle for, right? Because at the end of the day, one of the main philosophies of movement school is that campaigns shouldn't end on election day. There's so much innovation, community, relationships that were built throughout this process. It is a disservice, actually, to the community and to the movement to just disband and for all of that to just dissolve into the ether, right? And so we want to be able to build campaigns that build beyond the race, that continue to hold that elected now once they're in office to the community that helped them get there, right? And that allows the candidate to be able to govern the way that their community is expecting them to. And actually, for there to be trust rebuilt between community and elected officials.
Absolutely. And I just want to put a good comparison here as to how non-diverse campaigns really are. My work history, I come from the Senate. I come from Congress, which is famously not diverse.
Where's the flavor?
It's very homogenous. It is very, right? And I came from that world as a reference point. But then when I got to see campaigns and be much more involved in the campaign universe, I realized just how absolutely homogenous, how very white male campaign staff and campaign consultants and just the general campaign infrastructure really is. And it's sad to say, but it is much worse, I think, than anything on the official side, which official side meaning anything congressional, right? And I don't think people understand just how little inroads they've been made to address that. And I think Movement School is one of the only organizations, it's one of the only programs that is actually attempting to change that. And in Congress, you have, while it's dismal, still very much so, there are a few more programs that exist to change that aspect, but there's nothing really like that. And there's so many barriers to becoming a high-level campaign staffer, right? First, you have to spend years volunteering your time and your skill set, and you have to travel to get campaign experience. And then maybe if you stick around past the burnout, past the labor violations, past the
that part.
past all of that, then maybe one day you'll become a high-level campaign manager. But most people realize, oh, well, actually, it's maybe not worth being a campaign manager long-term. Maybe let me get in on the consultancy. So they leave to start a consultants firm or join bigger ones where they get paid more to do less of the work than they were previously. So Movement School is really, honestly, one of the premier visionary orgs that is changing all of that.
Yes. And I think something that sets Movement School apart, because there's other training programs that exist out there. Oftentimes it's a very short stint. So they'll do a 2-day boot camp, a 1-week training, a weekend long thing, and that's really it. And there's no real continuation to it. And so the thing that's unique about Movement School is that, one, when people come into Movement School, it's not just a revolving door of training where people come in and out and in and out, in and out. You're actually part of a community of people who are going to hold you down throughout this journey that you're taking into leadership, right? These are the people that are going to be able to support you if you have any questions. Hey, how do I do this? And most importantly, that the curriculum at Movement School is very much rooted in our ideological beliefs. And so, for example, there's training programs out there that can teach you how to do call time for a candidate, and that's great. But how do you do call time for a candidate who doesn't have a Rolodex of millionaire friends?
Right.
I can teach you how to get your win number and how to get your turnout number and all the stuff, but how do you actually create a field plan for a candidate who has little to no name recognition? You have to go about it in a very different way. And so when you come to Movement School, you're not just getting taught the typical traditional ways of running campaign.
You're learning how to be ragtag.
Yeah, we're trying to take the scrappy and actually make it into institutional knowledge. And for people to also find joy in bringing community in and creating a campaign plan that actually honors the culture and the norms of the community, right? That is actually connecting to them in their language, is meeting people where they're at. And also, at the same time, providing even more opportunity and more pipelines for folks in the community to get involved.
Right. And I think sometimes we're saying community and there's multiple ways we've been using it. And I think a lot of times people really just discount how much of DC proper and quote unquote the establishment is made up of like a community. That's people. When I first got into politics and started working on the Hill, I didn't realize that the first person I decided to work for, had an opportunity to work for, would then become a network that I'm a part of. And then people refer to people's staffers as like Warren. Warren has her Warren nights, right? She has the Warren staffers. She has a pipeline. Many of them have gone on to work for the Biden administration. It's a big deal. You place your people and keep growing network, right? And that happens over and over and over again in the establishment, right? There's the Biden network. And for a really, really long time, progressive staffers only had like one or two options, but predominantly would end up working for people that are probably, for a lot of staffers, are a lot more centrist or conservative than what their personal beliefs are. And I feel like that the same thing happens on campaigns. And now we keep finding incredible candidates and help them run. And we are finding a shortage of staffers. And I'm like, that's where movement school comes in.
Yes, that's where we come in.
We've talked about the consultants class. We've talked about how movement school got started. But what are some of the pressures that movement school navigates? What are the things that you guys have to fight against that besides the consultant class?
We fighting demons all the time, Amira. You have no idea. Like,
not demons.
The biggest thing for me, I think, besides the consultants, is people come to me and they're like, I want a Black woman as my campaign manager who's had at least 4 cycles under her belt and has experience doing every other position on a campaign.
And is movement
And every
aligned.
time people ask me that, I'm like, you want to pull her out of my ass? Because like, that's a fucking unicorn. That doesn't exist. And not that it can't. It's just there's never been a deep investment in actually building up people, working class people of color, to have these leadership positions. And so part of movement school, oftentimes I have to advocate very strongly for my movement school fellows to help place them on campaigns, because a lot of them are coming into the movement school community having never worked a campaign in their lives. But that shouldn't be the end all be all. And it's really hard, and I understand it, but it's really hard for people to give a chance to people who have never worked a campaign in a day in their life. But what I always say is, no one gives them the opportunity or the chance. How are we going to build towards that? How are we going to get that badass Black campaign manager? That's not going to happen if people don't actually take a chance on people and trust people, right? And so that's actually one of the biggest pressures that I'm constantly navigating in movement school, is like making sure that people remember where they themselves came from. Because sometimes I'm talking to people and they're like, I need an experienced person. I'm like, did you forget that you yourself learned how to do this, like, by trial and error?
Yeah, beyond the trial and error, I feel like I think one thing that you all strive to do is use the term fix the leaky pipeline, right? Because even when people do have maybe not the top jobs in campaigns, right? Let's say they start off as a field organizer or a call time manager, whatever it may be, they might do a cycle or two and then they leave. They don't come back. They don't continue so that they could be a campaign manager for 3-4 cycles, because of the fact that they had no support, they had no community, they had no people to really, in between these cycles, continue growing with. And I think that one of the things you guys really provide at Movement School is that continued community, that continued skills growing and community sharing, so that people don't just enter and exit.
Exactly.
Which I think happens a lot.
Yeah, no, like I say, we are not a revolving door of trainings. We're 4 years old. We're still a baby. We're still growing and we're still learning and we're still working in the field and learning new things as we go. There's so many things that like I did originally on my first few campaigns that like I don't do now, because I'm like, oh, this actually doesn't work anymore. Even if you've run multiple campaigns already, like there's still room for you to grow.
Right. I think that it's really easy to brush past this point, but I think it's an important one, is that you are making skill sharing and transparency and skill sets that you could hoard, and sell for a much higher price available for free. And that is massive, right? Because the tips and the tricks of the trade and the network, that is worth a lot more monetarily for people usually. But what you all are saying is actually like, hey, here's a curriculum, here's the things, here are the tips, here's a network, which in politics, it's all about your network. It's all about who do you know, right? Last episode, we heard from Becca Rose and Lindsay talking about how the economy is dynamic because people are dynamic.
Exactly.
And like politics is all about people. Everything is always changing. And what you're really allowing people to do is not just the skill set, right? You learn the basics of a campaign, but you also grow and get a community. And that's invaluable.
We are not about the gatekeeping. I want you to be able to not have obstacles to be able to learn how to do this work and excel and have the support system in order to excel at this work, right? Harvard and Yale have their own campaign schools where a lot of these political operatives go, get trained and all that, and then get put on these high-level campaigns. But there is nothing like that for working class people of color who don't have that Harvard or Yale money, because I know I didn't. I know sure as hell I didn't.
And around these parts, we are not about gatekeeping, which leads me to, I think it's about time we introduce our next guest. Who are we talking to, Ilona, today?
We are speaking to the one, the only, Adrastos Da Silva. I'm so excited that we're talking to Adrastos because Adrastos is actually one of the first people that I connected with at movement school. I speak to all of the fellows when they're coming into the program to get to know them, and I just immediately, Adrastos and I just vibed right off the bat from our lived experience to the things that we like to do. And it's been so incredible to watch his trajectory from the moment that he came into movement school all the way to now to being Cori Bush's campaign manager. And I honestly couldn't be prouder of him because it's definitely been a journey, which I'm sure he will speak about. But that's what it's about. It's about the people, and Adrastos was definitely one of those shining stars from the beginning.
In the DMs today, we have Ilona and Adrastos, as promised, everybody. I am so excited to get this started. Ilona, will you do us the honors of introducing Adrastos?
It is absolutely my honor to be introducing this human. You guys have no idea because he is OG movement school alum. And so it is my honor to introduce to y'all Adrastos Da Silva, who is currently Representative Cori Bush's campaign manager. That Adrastos was accepted into the first ever cohort of the movement school campaign fellowship. I cannot be more happy for him. Adrastos, what the fuck is up? Welcome.
Hello.
I don't know if I could say fuck,
Hey!
It's so good to be.
You are allowed to. It's okay.
It's so good to be in community with both of you once again. I don't think I've seen you, Amira, since, I don't know, I think a year or two ago. So it's great to be and see all of you again.
Oh, I know you all obviously know each other for a long time, but talking about being in community, Adrastos, I met you when I was in St. Louis in 2020, and I was kind of by myself for a hot moment there, and I just always remember the kindness, the generosity of you, like offering me rides back
Always.
to my sad Airbnb and like taking care of me, and I was so thankful. I don't even know if I ever told you how thankful I was because it was genuinely warmed my heart so much. And I was like, oh, look at the movement school alums, all about community.
See, we got you. We got you. Wherever you need a ride, we got you.
Yes, no, that honestly makes me so happy to hear because one of the things that we value at movement school is campaign culture and redefining what the culture on campaigns should be. So it warms my heart to know that y'all had that little moment because exactly, these are the types of people that we need working in this space. We need to take care of each other. This work is incredibly hard and taxing. And at the end of the day, we're all humans that need to love and care for each other. So I love that.
Yeah.
And it makes me even happier.
I mean, if it was a normal campaign, right, you would see all the staff or like the consultants that are there just like ignoring you. They would look away. They wouldn't, like, if you're having any kind of a bad day, they wouldn't be there for you. They wouldn't ask like what you need or how they can support you. And that's what I really loved about Cori's campaign from 2020 and 2022 was like, we stepped up. We always asked people ways that we can support them in every single space. It wasn't just transportation, right? It was pay. It was making sure that it was a living wage, no matter if you did part-time, if you did full-time. And then we also just valued everybody on the team and making sure that everybody was bought into the field plan, into the communications plan, into the finance plan, right? Like it was just a well-rounded, wholesome experience just being in space with everybody in the community.
Period. I love that. So, Adrastos, I want to bring us back a little bit in the time machine, back to 2019. Tell us a little bit about what brought you to Movement School and the Campaign Fellows program specifically.
Yeah. It's really interesting looking back on it now because I was about to go on my first year dropping out of high school. I didn't know what I wanted to do. A lot of the people that I had in my life were very uncertain of my path. I was even more uncertain of my path, right? I felt super directionless. And I had a friend of mine who's really close with me. She saw that AOC posted this Campaign Fellows program. And I watched Knock Down the House like the week prior, and I was like obsessed. And I mean, I remember in 2018 entering into my senior year seeing AOC elected, and I was just like, like we're finally getting the people that are actually like us, right? When my friend showed me the application for it, I was like, I have to. I don't think I'm going to do it. I don't think it's going to actually happen. I'm just a kid from like New Mexico. New Mexico is like such a odd state to accept anybody from. I ended up procrastinating and then finally applying the last day before the deadline. I think I actually was like 20 minutes before the deadline. And then I was working this 9-to-5 job at the time, and I was like so depressed. I was like, this is going to be my life forever. I'm working in this very basic organization that like exploits people, but there was literally nobody hiring at the time. And I didn't know what to do because most places needed a degree, right? And then boom, I got the email. And when I say that in that moment, I can say that changed my life, it was like a snowball effect. Because I saw a week later, the Working Families Party had a boot camp training, a couple months out, like right before the start of the Campaign Fellows program. And I went over there and I did their training for like a weekend, and I was super bought in. And when I joined Movement School, I was just enamored with the amount of people that were so committed to all of the different areas of campaigns that like, I never thought this existed. I never thought this career path. I never thought you could actually do this without being like 10, 20 years into the game with like a master's degree or something like that, right? Mm-hmm. And that snowball effect happened to where I got my first job while I was in the Campaign Fellows because I told them I was in Campaign Fellows program with the Working Families Party in Colorado. And that was my first job at 19, moving from Albuquerque to Colorado, using every single lesson that I learned in that program hands-on in that first job that I did.
Oh my goodness. And look at where that snowball's brought you now. Like,
so much
incredible. Really quick. If Campaign Fellows program were to be a movie, what movie would it be?
Ooh, that's hard.
What genre?
What genre?
What genre would you put it in?
Ooh, I would say, I don't know, like a 90s wholesome movie, but for the establishment, it's like Aliens.
Like a family friendly.
For the establishment, it's like a suspense horror film. Like you never know where they're at. Like, you can't find the progressives anywhere.
So it could be Independence Day.
Literally was going to say, I'm like, I feel like Movement School is like a thriller, both for the consultants, because I remember when we first launched, we came out swinging with like, we're building an army of progressive organizers to take over the establishment. So it was like, whoa, I literally wore army green pants to the launch. Like, that's the picture that went all over social media. And then I remember the headline coming out afterwards. It was like, AOC is building an army. Because, yeah. But also, like, even for the students, because those wild cards that we'd be throwing at y'all, I mean, kind of scary.
The wild cards that you threw at us.
Wait. Y'all, what is a wild card? What are you guys talking about?
A wild card are rapid response scenarios that would happen on a campaign. They're made to mimic mini fires that would pop up while you're on the campaign trail.
I remember my first wild card that I got for movement school, and I was traveling from Denver to Albuquerque at the time, and I was just like, I remember driving. I was like really tired, but I was like determined to get this wild card finished early because I wanted to go see family. And I had all of my teammates on the call. Like we were just like discussing and brainstorming different ways of approaching that one scenario. It's so long from now that like I don't remember what it was, but I just remember it was like, wow, I didn't know that this could be an actual thing that happened on campaigns and that you have to deal with. But it's so real. I think it was around like police brutality or something, and right. And look how much further that conversation has been embedded in campaigns and how much it's at the forefront to show that you are actually progressive. Is like, how are you on this issue, right? Of calling out state violence.
Absolutely. Did APAC just spend $100,000 on a TV ad? What are you going to do about it? You know, did your opponent get endorsed by the establishment? What are you going to do about it? And so we throw these wild cards at the fellows throughout their program to mimic those mini fires, and so that they can know what it's like to actually work on a campaign, because that's realistically, besides doing your job, it's putting out fires, wouldn't you say, Adrastos?
Yep. I mean, it's like, that's the biggest thing on campaigns. That's the hardest part, is like, you don't know until you're there when you're experiencing it. And you're like, you don't know what to do. I can't remember how many times being the field director for Cori and having to call you, having to call Gabe, who was the former national training director for movement school. I called 5 different mentors. I called 3 different volunteers that I had. I think I went through like my Rolodex, just calling through everyone I could just to get their opinion, to make sure I was doing the right thing or giving me advice, right? And that's also one of the most beautiful things about our community, is that like we got each other. Like at any space, like there is somebody that has an answer in our community. We'll pull them out of the gutter wherever they are. We'll bring them out and we'll make sure that they can answer you and support you in the right way.
What do you think now, going from field director to campaign manager? What are some of the building blocks you gained from being a movement school alum?
I would say like humility is probably one of the biggest pieces. One of the biggest things that we're fighting against is this consulting class, this establishment that is so like elitist, classist, also homophobic, right? The amount of times that I've entered into the space of working on the field, going door to door, talking to voters, to then now like in this role, experiencing just direct classism and direct microaggressions, but they're more just aggressions. The amount of people that have also called me a criminal while being a campaign manager, in spaces of going and fundraising and just experiencing a whole nother level of just people that are just so disconnected that they have no idea that what they're saying is extremely harmful. And it's like, it's 2023. Like, come on, baby. Like, you just need to, you should know this right now, right?
Like, I get it.
And knowing how to be humble. I also don't know everything, too. That was also one of the biggest struggles that I had early on was, I had this idea of this and this and this. This is what I would have done better, and this is what I need to do, and like X, Y, and Z. And that's not true. We always need to constantly evolve and constantly just build each other up, and making it an open space where everybody can be bought into it. And that's the thing that we have up of the establishment, right? Is like they're like, I know better than you. I know what needs to happen. I know how to talk to this voter. I know how we need to message in this part of the district, right? And it's so wrong, because most of those people are never from the district, or never from that community, or never from that family.
Yeah.
Say it loud for the people to hear you all the way in the back.
And you both mentioned the wild cards, and obviously a lot of what campaign is putting out these fires or unforeseen circumstances arise and your rapid response mode. But there are also a lot of like skill sets that are an everyday, mundane, boring, not that sexy. You're not like in the midst of doing comp strategy, things that just need to get done. And I would love to hear how movement school prepared you for doing those things too.
Honestly, just like again, being the humble thing of knowing when to reach out to people.
Yeah.
I struggled immensely hard with knowing that I just need to experiment. I just need to try new things. I can't just get into my head and
Right.
not really feel like I'm wasting time by just trying new systems out, new also personal like accountability things that I need to do just to make sure I get shit done, right? That was also
Yeah.
a big struggle for me, is what really worked with that.
Just getting the confidence. Sometimes, honestly, it's like getting the soft skill, the confidence to just be able to say, well, actually, I know how to do it. I just need to empower myself and give myself, this gave you like the confidence to go to do it.
Confidence, I would say that's a hard skill. That is the hard skill.
Exactly right. Exactly right. I always say to movement school fellows when they're coming in, I can teach you all of the quote unquote hard skills, right? I could teach you how to get a win number. I could teach you how to get your turnout number. I could teach you all of this stuff. None of that matters if it's not rooted in something bigger than yourself. Right? None of that matters if it's not rooted in our ideological beliefs, that culture that we're building at movement school, right? That confidence that we're instilling in these fellows. And especially because, as Adrastos was saying, folks that are coming into the movement school community aren't your typical politicals. They aren't your typical political heads. And so coming into that space can be incredibly overwhelming, especially when you're dealing with this like consultant heart class that is so hardcore. And so at movement school, we teach the hard skills, but most importantly, we're empowering people and we're instilling that confidence in them. And we're trying to create a community of support where people are able to be like, I don't know how to do this, but let's figure it out together.
I would also say really quick that I think if one lesson that somebody that's listening to this podcast, or even just somebody that's going into the movement school space, is the biggest piece that you should know is to know and step into your power. You are from that community. You know what it's like to be, whether it be from being on food stamps, whether it's like to be uninsured, whether it's like to be not having a living wage, whether it's, oh, I do have privilege. Like I've had all those things. I have generational wealth. How are you stepping up? Right? Knowing your power and what you are able to do and how you're able to lift and bring other people up. That's just such a crucial piece that's going to take not just you, your campaign, your organization that you're with, but also just all of us. It's going to carry the whole movement and bring us with you, because you know how to be your authentic self and take that power that you have onto a whole nother level, right? And that's going to be so transformational, again, not just for you, your organization, but for the whole movement as a whole.
Yes. I love hearing you speak about it, Adrastos, because I'm so proud of you. I really am.
Thank you.
I remember one of the first conversations we had, and you had this is before you went to WFP, and you were having this moment of, I don't know what I want to do. This is really cool, but I don't know what I'm doing. I'm still trying to find my space. I'm still trying to find my groove. And I remember that conversation vividly because I was calling you to support you. And there was moments personally where I was like, oh, I'm also still trying to figure it out. I also make mistakes, and I also need the support of the community. And I think that was like one of the first times where I was really vulnerable with a fellow. I just want to give you your thoughts because it was actually very impactful for me as a leader. People being able to approach me and being able to like just be in community together and not be afraid to ask questions, because I'm asking you questions and I'm being honest about my limitations. And I think that that's really powerful.
The whole experience was super impactful for me, and like also just knowing that if you were 2 years older than me and you started this amazing organization that's creating transformational change across the entire country, right? For me, that was so unfathomable. But now I look back on it, that was 4 years ago. I was working as a caregiver and I didn't even know what was going to happen. I thought I was going to be changing bedpans and working a 9 to 5 maybe. That was just going to be my life. And maybe I did something in politics. Maybe I volunteered. But now I'm the campaign manager of one of the most popular members of the squad in Congress. Wow. Like I thought this would have been decades from now, right? And the change is real. It's not linear. Like you can do anything at any moment in your life.
Yes, absolutely. I love that. Gracias. I miss you much, and I can't wait to get arepas with you.
Same here.
very soon. Was it your first time trying an arepa?
Oh, yes, it was. It was.
With you?
It's still my favorite food.
So I took Adrastos to go get arepas, and he was like, "Oh my goodness, what is this? What is this thing? This is so good."
See, the funny thing, too, that was transformational for me, being part of movement school, was also how it expanded my taste. Because I was a very picky eater. I would not eat anything. And I went to New York, and then boom, Indian food, Korean. I'm gonna try Colombian. I'm gonna try Venezuelan food. I'm gonna eat everything. My taste palette completely changed after that first trip.
Movement school. It's an expansive experience for your taste buds and your skill set. Come on now, that's a whole commercial right there.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for joining us and taking time off of your busy day. We really appreciate it and just so excited to get a little testimonial in here. You know, we could tell you about movement schools, but look at our testimonial.
Exactly. And it's so good being back. It feels like another way of giving back to the people that brought me here. You may have not been with me every single moment, but you sure as hell carried me all the way with all of the teachings, all of the experiences, all of the empowering conversations. I wouldn't have gotten here without movement school. So just so much thankfulness and gratitude to both of you and the whole movement school team.
We love you, and we're so proud.
Me too.
We're back. Actually, we never left, but that's besides the point. Ilona, how is it hearing from Adrastos about his journey from movement school alum to working for Congresswoman Cori Bush?
Oh my goodness. My thought was, this is what it's about. This is exactly what it's about. Like I mentioned, I started movement school from a place of rage and being incredibly pissed at the world, but having that be your only motivation to continue to build.
Yeah.
Fear and anger is a good motivator, but it shouldn't be the only
good
thing.
catalyst. They get you going.
Yeah.
But will they keep you going?
Right. But honestly, what has kept me sane, what has kept me grounded in doing this work, what has kept me wanting to continue to refine movement school and just support people is because people like Adrastos should be in leadership positions, should take up space.
Yeah.
And if movement school can help empower him to do that and to help support him throughout his journey, that's what it's about.
Which leads us to the campaign's Fellows program, which is coming up, and would love to hear more about this incredible program that you could get involved in and apply to.
Yes, Campaign Fellows program is back, baby. And I am so excited. The Campaign Fellows program is an 8-week-long campaign simulation. So let me break it down for you. Basically, we need staffers now, like yesterday, right? Like Amir said, we keep getting these amazing candidates, but there's still this shortage of staff. And so we need to make sure to train up folks pretty quickly, pretty efficiently in order to place them on campaigns. The Campaign Fellows program is truly preparing the folks that participate in the program are ready for that next step in leadership. And so what we're doing with those folks is, okay, you're ready, right? All right. I'm going to simulate a campaign for you and you're going to run it. And so when they get accepted into the program, in their application process, folks apply to a specific track: campaign management, field, track, finance, and data. When they get accepted into their track, they become that role for their campaign team. They get put in a campaign team. We give them a candidate bio, a district breakdown, and they have 8 weeks to create a campaign plan from A to Z on this particular candidate in this particular district. But wait, there's more. To like up the antics a little bit, the simulation piece, you get thrown these wild cards at you. And the wild cards are made to simulate mini fires that pop up on the campaign. Because again, we want to get you prepared for that moment so that when that person then goes on to work in a campaign and APAC is spending $100,000 on you on a TV ad, you're like, that's light work. I got that. I learned it in movement school, so I know how to take care of this. And that's what the Campaign Fellows program is really preparing folks to take that next step in their leadership, become that campaign manager, and just kill it.
Hey. Okay, so where can people find this application and what's the deadline to apply?
Applications are currently open, so make sure to get your applications in because spots fill up quick. We only have 55 spots, and the deadline is March 6th at midnight.
Don't wait till midnight.
But don't wait till midnight, yes. You can find the application on the Movement School website, which is movementschool.us. You will see it there, Campaign Fellows, very bright on our landing page, and you can apply via the website.
Hey. All right, that's the show. Ilona, say bye.
Bye, y'all. It was so great to be on. Thank you so much. Apply to the Campaign Fellows program, and I will see you guys on the block sometime.
See you around the block. We're gonna tip on hardwood floors.
Tin across the floor. Hey.
That's the show. Our mix engineer is Rocco Russo. Our producer on this episode is Sophie Cap, Emerald